Let's kick it off. Let's launch the first game. Let's start heading into it. Let's do it. Let's go. Go, 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 go. Here we go. Alright, and switching over and welcome everyone. Welcome to the first of three games that we're going to be spectating, that we're going to be viewing tonight between TyRanT Slam and Psy Lix. So we'll go ahead and we'll not introduce the players because we've just done that, but we'll have a look at where each of the players are on the map, what their maps look like, the civs, the map, and all that kind of good stuff. So turning the fog of war off real quick, down to the sort of southwest of the map, we do have TyRanT Slam playing in the blue, and he's playing as a Teutons for this 1v1 matchup, and his opponent. Oh, pretty much on the mirror opposite, actually, the northeast sort of area of the map, we have Psy Lix playing in the red trunks, and he's also playing as the Teutons. So we have a Teutons matchup, Teutons mirror matchup that is, and it is on Arabia as well. So Teutons quite a heavy civilization once they get into the late stages of the game. Very strong in the Imperial age, um, with their pretty decent siege. And if I really hope we see Teutonic Knights because I love those units. They're just so slow, and it's hilarious to think that something so slow like that is just so tanky and so strong once it gets up close to its enemies. But it's going to be interesting to see how these players do decide to play this game out. Obviously, Teuton's a drush is quite plausible, seeing as though they can go quite nicely into crossbows in the castle age. So a drush fast castle could be on the cards. They do get obviously they do get quite nice scouts as well, getting bloodlines and all the and the blacksmith upgrades as well. But going going anything more than scouts along the scout cavalry line doesn't really pan out for the Teutons based on the fact that they don't actually have anything more than that. But it will be interesting to see how these players do decide to play it. And normally, I would say that the first thing we could look at to try and figure out what they're going to go for is how many villages they have on wood. And we can see Lix over here chucking 3 villages on wood, which is sort of indicative to me maybe of a drush. So we could sorry, not a drush, a scout rush. So we might be seeing a scout rush from Lix popping up as he goes to lure his first boar in. But we'll have a look at his map, because sometimes his map might give us a bit of a hint, or a bit of a clue as to what he's going to do as well. So we've already seen that he does have this nice back lumber here, and it's quite a decent way to the distance to the town centre as well. Uh, so if he does start to get forced off this wood line, he can hightail it back there and keep his villages somewhat safe. He does have quite a nice wall off at the back here as well, a couple of palisades across here, maybe even across here and across here to secure this gold. And a bit of a funnel towards his town centre means this sort of whole right-hand part of his economy is quite nice and safe, at least in the early stages of the game anyway. He does have another lumber line up to the front, and one further even more out so to the front as well. But for the time being, he's looking pretty comfortable taking this one at the back. He does have forward berries as well. Forward resources are never really kind of nice. If you can get away with trying to secure any forward resources that you have, then you'll be in a pretty good spot as well. His main gold also forward. He does have a stone here at the back of his base, which is quite nice. Maybe not as important for the Teutons as it could be for other civilizations, such as the Mayans or the Mongols, just because we're probably not likely going to be seeing an army composition made up solely or mainly comprised of Teutonic Knights, but getting castles up always nice, and maybe he might even go for a trush. We don't know. Teuton trush is quite strong, owing to the fact they can chuck more villages in their towers, but we'll have to wait and see how that one plays out. And his other stone out here toward the front of his base as well. We've already seen a gold out here to the east of his map, and his third gold, I don't know, it could be this little puppy out here. So all in all, his map isn't too bad. He can do some pretty decent wall offs. He can wall off across here with some buildings and houses and what have you, and do the same across here. And we've already mentioned the fact that he can wall off here and maybe even across here if he wants. So his base is going to be quite nice on the right hand side. It'll just be on the left that he has to worry about, but that's fine because then he'll know where Slam is going to be being aggressive from as the game progresses. But having a look at Slam's map, and his map doesn't look as nice, to be honest. His main gold out on the front of his map, again, never nice, quite easy for Lix to zoom in here and pressure him off his main gold. He's got hills as well at the front of his base, so a nice juicy hill bonus for Lix popping in there if the aggression does start to come in from him as well. He does have a nice back lumber, so that's that's something that he's got going for him. I don't know whether or not he did have 4 on lumber or not, but it will be quite interesting to see how this one goes. Slam always puts 4 on lumber though, so it's quite in most of his build orders he puts 4 on lumber, and it's quite common for us to see that. But he's clicking loom, and it looks like he'll be hitting the feudal age very soon, utilizing the cheaper Teutonic farms as well. So he can seed 3 instead of 2, and it looks like 2. When I say 2, normally you only see a couple of farms being thrown down in the Dark Age if you're going to be going scouts, and it looks like he will be transitioning into scouts in the feudal age as well. Seeing as though he's just clicked up now with Licks clicking up on 22 pop and Slam going up on 21. So we'll be seeing scouts from both players here. We saw Licks a little bit earlier on as well, luring in some deer, so that's almost definitely indicative of a drush. God, not again. Almost indicative of a scout rush even. And Slam going ahead and splitting his lumber to try and get a little bit more efficiency out of his lumberjacks. The other gold that he has, he's got another gold over here, which again not in a nice position for him. It's a little bit far away from his town center, and it is on a hill. So again, hill bonuses there. He's got a stone out to the front of his base, and I guess this would be his 3rd gold out here. I imagine he scouted it. Yeah, so he knows where that is as well. And his other stone. Did I see his other stone? Where's his other stone? Okay, it turns out I can't see his other stone unless this is it right here. Okay, yeah. So so Slam's got quite a few forward resources, so it would be in his best interest to try and push out with scouts to take map control, which is exactly what we're going to be seeing him do right now anyway. We can see Licks walling up, utilizing the nice wall ability of his map here as well. Wouldn't surprise me if wouldn't surprise me to see him continue his wall out this side here as well. But we can see that his barracks is down, and I imagine he'll be plonking a stable down in here somewhere. Is he going to put a stable down here? He'll be putting a stable down somewhere when he gets up to the feudal age, and yep, stable coming down for Licks, stable coming down for Slam as well. So it will be a scout rush, and I imagine with some sort of an archer transition as well, and then possibly both of them transitioning into crossbows in the castle age. But it could also be interesting to see whether or not either of these players do decide to go for knights. Or depending on how the game does progress and how the game turns out. So they're stable up for both players now. We can see scouts starting to be queued up for Slam, and the same can be said as well of Licks. So at the moment, we're just going to be it's the calm before the storm, I guess you could say, with both of these players just starting to get out their initial scouts and deciding whether or not they want to push out and do some harassment, or just stay at home and try and defend against their opponent. But a couple of spearmen at each of the major resources, the lumber and the berries. A couple of spearmen will be enough to deter any sort of initial scouts that do come out, and Lick's also creating a little bit of a wall off here with a couple of houses, maybe looking to funnel in towards the town centre somewhat, or just wall the hell out of his woodline anyway, just to keep his woodline nice and safe. Because wood, obviously, at the in the early stages of the game is the most important resource. Because without it, you're not going to be able to seed all these beautiful looking farms. You're not going to be able to get up your buildings, your houses, and all that sort of good stuff. So keeping your wood safe is very important when you're going for scouts, as is keeping your berries nice and protected if you can. But we can see Licks pushing out with a couple of scouts now. As he pushes across the map, he's done enough scouting of Slam's base to know where all of his resources are. He knows the lumber line has to be here. He knows where the berries are. He scouted that Slam has a pretty terrible main gold, and now he's moving out. Might be able to get a villager pick here if he's paying attention, but no, he's just going to force this villager away, this health building villager away. There's the three scouts for Slam, 4 scouts, 5. I can't count. 5 scouts for Slam come across. And this could be a nice wee engagement for Slam if he manages to get a good surround or a good couple of free downhill hits on these scouts hopping in the town centre. And Licks is going to take some unnecessary damage from the arrow fire here, but he is going to get out of there, somewhat unscathed. And we can see that Slam getting a nice few free hits in here on Licks, who back at home is actually quite protected. He's moving out over to gold now as well, which is exactly what we saw Slam doing. So it looks like they're kind of playing this as you would normally play a Hun war, by kicking into scouts to begin with, and then transitioning into archers as the feudal age progresses. Town Watch now coming in for Slam as well, a very important upgrade. It's always nice to be able to see whether or not your opponent is going to start pushing at you from further away to give yourself more time to react. And a Spearman coming out here to meet up with the Scouts for Licks, going to push these 4 Scouts of Slam away. Now, you could take this fight and, micro against the Spearman, but it's sort of unnecessary. He wouldn't be able to get too much out of it, and he will take some unfortunate damage on his scouts, and Lick's pretty heavily walling out here on the western side of his map as well. So he's going to be nice and safe. He hasn't quite scouted out this out the back portion of his map here, and I hope that he isn't assuming that this wood line does extend all the way to the edge of the map. But it looks like he's smart enough to go around there and check it out with this villager, and I imagine we'll be seeing a couple of walls, palisades maybe, or a house or two, just being plonked down there to complete that wall off, which will keep him nice and safe for the time being. So a good number of scouts now, actually 6 scouts and a couple of spearmen pushing out for Lix, and he's going to be able to take a nice engagement here with Slam, who has an even number of scouts but 1 less spearman, and are getting a few unfortunate hits, and now 1 scout going down, micro walling in his gold villagers, so that's going to be nice for Slam. He's going to be able to keep them nice and safe, and a blacksmith coming up as well, so maybe no archer transition, maybe actually just going to be going either full feudal and scouts, or looking for that knight transition when he does get into the castle age. Which sort of makes sense, because late game you normally see the Teutons going for some sort of cavalry line um, in the paladin sort of route there. Just based on the fact that their archer line doesn't really extend too far past the crossbows. So maybe looking like we're not going to see the crossbow transition. Looks like we're going to be seeing a knight transition there for Slam. Whilst I guess the same thing can be said for Lix as well, putting down a blacksmith and a market as well, just to try and get some extra upgrades on his cavalry. And Lix now clicking up to the castle age in quite a nice time as well. And I mean, it's not the most difficult thing to do if you've only made a couple of scouts and you've seeded enough of these cheaper Teutonic farms and not invested any gold into any archers for an archer transition. So, there's a really nice castle times coming in for both players. Lix with a slight villager lead, which tells me that maybe Slam has had a bit of idle time on his town centre, since I haven't actually seen any villager picks coming in anywhere around the map. But a bit of a scout scuffle here that Slam will come out on top. On top from scale biting armor now coming in for Lix as well, which definitely says that he is going to be going for knights in the castle age. And this is a nice little wall off here for Slam, just trying to protect a little bit more of his economy by walling off toward the town center. And this is sort of really non-consequential, I guess you could say. The fact that these scouts are still kind of hustling around, it doesn't really make too much of a difference with the +1 armor having been done for Lix, and Bloodlines coming in now as well. And Slam not actually having done any upgrades on his scouts, no Bloodlines, no +1, throwing down his second stable here. And can the same be said for Lix? Yep, Lix is also throwing down his second stable. So we will be seeing 2 stable knights from both players. And Lix has actually managed to wall off the back of his base here as well. So, Palisades are pretty strong in the feudal age in terms of keeping out feudal age units. But in the castle age, they just don't really stand up to as much of a beating. But yeah, so it looks like, okay, Bloodlines and Scale Biting Armor now just coming in for Slam. So maybe he'll be wanting to play a little bit more defensively with his knights initially. Especially since Lix is up to the castle age first. Seeing a couple of knights being plonked out. A town centre coming down as well on the wood out here to the east of his base. And are we seeing a second town centre anywhere for Lix? Well, no, we're not, because he doesn't actually have the resources for it. But he is throwing down a monastery. So he is expecting to see knights from Slam as well, based on the fact that he hasn't seen any archers coming out in the feudal age. So monastery, definitely a nice choice to try and provide a little bit more defense back at Lex's base, while his knights are out roaming in Slam's base to try and do some damage. Slam now up to the castle age as well, having got the +1 and bloodlines on his knights. A second town centre coming down, and no third town centre. This is just a house. It's just a house on a hill. It's got a nice view. And this scout, it's not going to cause too much more grief for Slam. But here we go, Lick sending out a little contingency, a pair of knights, just roaming across the map here, seeing what damage or what harassment they're going to be able to do to Slam's economy, as that final scout from Lick's actually does get cleaned up. So it'll be interesting to see whether Lick's can actually do any damage in here. I really don't think damage is going to be the name of this little raid from these two knights. Maybe a little bit of scouting, seeing what Slam's doing back in his base. He can kind of assume that there is going to be another town center here. Although in saying that, it is a bit different when you're spectating, looking in the fog of war as to what the players can see sometimes. But he might be able to get a villager pick here on this wall that Slam was building, but he's not quite paying attention. And Slam's sending a couple of knights around there to try and to deal with the knights in the woodline here, but he will get one villager pick. Is he going to stand? Of course he is. He's going to get one villager pick, while a few more knights at the front of Slam's space do start moving in here as well. Slam's reactions on point? Yeah, Slam's reactions are fine. He's managed to get his villagers back in the town centre to keep him nice and safe. And a relic being picked up now for Licks as well, which is always nice in a 1v1 to try and give yourself a little bit more of a gold boost over your opponent. But this is nice raiding from Licks. He doesn't necessarily have to kill any villagers, although he is doing that. As we can see, he is 3 villagers ahead at the moment. But just causing all this idle time for Slam, who is now up on 3 town centers as well, is really going to start putting Licks ahead in economy, especially since if Slam does push out, he's going to find that Licks is is he on his 3rd town center? Yep, Licks also up on his 3rd town center, but he is fully walled, and even though it is with palisade walls, it's still going to take a little bit of time for Slam to get through the palisade walls, even with knights. And that'll give Licks time to try and formulate some sort of a defense. But Licks playing a really nice game, 6 villagers in the lead at the moment, and again, like I said, having caused a little bit of idle time on Slam's economy, with Slam playing relatively unwalled compared to Licks, and it's starting to put Licks in a nice position as Slam runs inadvertently into this quite a nice knight army here from Licks, sending his scouts in to try and pick off those monks. Unsuccessful in that, but Slam might be able to grab this. No, he's going to get out of there, which is quite wise. He doesn't want to lose any of his knights here to conversions from the monks that have been popped out by Licks. Is Slam going to retaliate with a monastery of his own, I wonder? I don't think he has a monastery up. He doesn't actually have a monastery up at the moment, but he must know that Licks is walled. Yeah, he's seen that Licks has done some walling across the left-hand side of his base and also across the front, and he has lost a few scouts in here. Again, it's not the end of the world if he loses Teutonic scouts, because it's not like you can upgrade them to anything more either. Well, anyway, but a monastery now coming up for Slam, with the villagers actually now having pulled even, which tells me that Slam maybe got his 3rd town centre up just a little bit quicker than his opponent. Either that or Licks has idled his TC a little bit. But at the moment, it's a neck and neck game. Villagers starting to pull ahead for Slam now, actually. Military is all even. It's all tied up, and everything else is starting to look pretty even as well, to be honest with you. The relics, obviously, I think 2 relics have been collected for Licks at the moment, so he's going to start reaping the benefits of that extra gold income the longer this game goes on. And chain barding armor now coming in for Licks as well to give him +2 on his knights, and forging coming in for Slam. And I'm unsure whether the forging is going to be to give his spearmen a bit more of a buff against any knights that do come in from Licks to decide to do some raiding, or if he's going to try and provide a bit more attack power, a bit more menacing stats for his knights. But normally you go for the defense upgrades on your knights on your cavalry before you go for any offensive upgrades. But I'm assuming they're going to be for the knights, just to try and buff out. Sorry, not for the knights, for the spearmen, just to try and buff them out as the pardon me. As more of a protection against any knights that do come in from Licks. And here we go, the slow march of Licks. The monks trying to march alongside the knights, but old men obviously don't walk as quickly as the knights on their well-trained horses. And now they're deciding to kind of leave the monks left behind at the bottom of the hill. And now they're moving out finally, and it looks like they're going to try and push out, see what damage they can do, as the 4th town centre does pop up now for Licks as well. He's going to try and start pulling ahead a little bit more in economy, I guess, with this extra town centre. over Slam, unless Slam has gone up to a 4th, which I don't think he has. I don't see it anywhere. No, Slam's not gone up to a 4th town centre. And again, they're all neck and neck on villages, but here comes the push from Lix, and it looks like he's brought the monks into play as well. So it will be interesting to see how this one does kind of pan out for each player. The monks trying to get some conversions, the spearmen from Slam getting in here and doing some nice damage with that. The added benefit of that +1 attack on these knights, and he's going to be able to push this. It looks like he'll be able to hold the lines and maybe push this this offensive from Lix back as chain barding armor comes in. That's going to be huge as well. It'll give Slam the upgrade advantage on the knights. He does have the defender's advantage as well here. I don't know, it's really hard to say, but it looks like Slam's going to be in an okay position to hold this. He does again have knights continuously pumping out of these two stables, but these monks have done a lot of work for Lix, but it looks like, as I initially thought, it looks like Slam's going to be able to push this back as he does drop his 3rd stable as well. It's a nice fight here for Slam, rather. He is managing to hold his lines. He's still, more or less ahead on the same on villages, and yet he's managed to hold his line and push this back. His handcart kicks in for him as well, with Forging now coming in for Lix. As Slam does take the fight really nicely. He's defended the top of his hill, and this is something he doesn't want to lose. He doesn't want to lose the top of this hill because that's going to be just so nice for Lix to push in at him. If Slam gives him the time of day and does actually give him that opportunity to do so. So Slam's taken a really, really nice fight there, and Handcart is just going to kick his economy into overdrive now. He's seeded quite a lot of farms, getting up a university here, and we can see Slam is starting to look like he wants to click up to the Imperial Age, whereas Lix, a bit of an economy imbalance here, maybe a bit too much gold, but that's not going to be too detrimental, considering it's just going to wash away when he gets to the Imperial Age, seeding a lot of farms with, is that 2 universities? Seeding a lot of farms, and he's chucking up 2 universities to get those double upgrades in. That's always a very, very strong strategy. We can see Lix clicking up to the castle, the Imperial Age first even, but Slam is not going to be too far behind. There we go, Slam 7 seconds behind. So again, this match is really, really even. A couple more barracks been thrown down for TyRanT Slam here. So it looks like he'll be looking to try and maybe get the Halberdier upgrade as well to try and provide a little bit more of a defensive stature in his base. Again, it looks like both players are going to be going down the Paladin route as we see more barracks coming up for Slam. Stables still continuously pumping out knights, and has he got +2 attack? No, I thought he got Forging. Did he cancel Forging? I thought he got Forging. I was apparently mistaken. No, he did get Forging. What the hell was I looking at? Okay. I could have sworn he got Forging ages ago. But Barracks coming up now for Slam. Pikeman coming in for him as well. And the Chainmail Armor for Slam. Scale Mail Armor coming in for Lix. So all the upgrades that are going to affect the Pikeman line, as well as the Knights with the +1 attack and the +1 defense and all that good stuff as well, having already come in. So again, it looks like it's going to be a Paladin Halberdier sort of game, as Lix does start to push out and take a little bit more map control, moving out to the western flanks, the western edges of the map, even to start taking some more of this gold. Squire's coming in for Slam as well, giving his infantry a little bit more of a faster movement. And this is a really, really nice hill actually for Slam to try and defend from. If he does forfeit this hill, then it's going to be a real pain in the neck for him to try and pull that back. But if he can kind of hold it, then it's going to give him a really, really nice position to launch any attacks from his base. Especially since, there's not a terrible amount of distance between this hill and sort of the front entrance, I guess you could say the weakest entrance, apart from these palisades out here, which is incidentally protected by a castle and maybe a town centre. Yeah, the weakest sort of entrance to Lix's base is, hop, skip and a jump away from this hill. So this is going to be a really nice position for Slam to try and push from, as we see more barracks being thrown down for Lix as well, with the pikeman upgrade having been done, and Imperial Age for both players. Cavalier Halberdier coming in for both players straight away. So it does seem like it's going to be a pretty stock standard sort of Teutons war here. But Slam collecting a relic out here. He's moving out. He's already scouted this gold. Not really sure why he's doing the outpost. Maybe to give himself a little bit more notice as to any raiding from Lix that might be coming in. But he is going to be able to push out and take this gold, which is really, really nice for him. And it would do him well if he could move out and start taking map control and securing this gold out here as well, seeing as though Lix has already taken that initiative and moved out to the western flank here of the map to start taking that gold. But wow, okay, Slam's not going to get these stone walls up. This villager is going to go essentially to his death, and he's going to see now that Slix is built actually quite forward, and I guess it was a bit of a mistake on, pardon me, a bit of a mistake on Slam's part, not doing any preliminary scouting out here before he sent a villager out there to try and wall up. I guess just trying to emulate what his opponent was doing with all these, all these walls and Lix keeping his economy nice and safe. That Cavalier having kicked in for both players now as well. Chemistry rocking in for Lix. It looks like he might be wanting to switch into hand cannons, and here we go. The hand cannon transition will happen as well to try and provide a bit of a counter to these, the halberdier that Slam is chucking out right now to try and defend against these Cavalier that are now roaming around inside of his base. And this is always the hard thing to deal with as well when your opponent is walled and you don't have the most wallable map in the world. Slam tried to make a good deal out of it at the front of his base here by walling off, and he lost a villager for the process. But Lix at least doing a little bit of economic harassment here, just idling the economy somewhat of Slam. But Slam's making a really nice push through the center of the map here. Walls be damned, he says. I'm just going to start pushing against your forward. But Lix throwing up a castle in defense out the front of his base, and that's going to be really nice for him as well, because these halberdier, they're not really going to stand up to too much arrow fire from a castle, even with plate mail armor now kicking in as well. Chemistry being researched for Slam. It looks like he's going to be wanting to start making that transition into hand cannons, or maybe even bombard cannons, as a just sort of a more offensive measure, some sort of long-range siege, seeing as though he doesn't actually have any castles up to start trimming down any of his opponent's buildings from afar. So it looks like maybe a siege workshop might be coming in for Slam sometime soon, to try and get some bombard cannons out, or maybe he does actually just want to be going for both. In fact, there's a siege workshop there and an archery range popping down there and there. So it looks like Slam's going to be wanting to get out some hand cannons to deal with the halberdier that are imminent and now popping in. Ah, Teutonic Knights! We see Teutonic Knights, and you can see how tanky Teutonic Knights are against these halberdier. They just absolutely shred the snot out of them. They don't care. These Teutonic Knights will just destroy any melee unit. Well, okay, the halberdier. They'll destroy the halberdier. But this is a nice bit of raiding coming in at the back from Lix. Slam sending some cabs back there to try and pick up the pieces there. As both players, actually Slam's ahead on upgrades. He has got he's gone for blast furnace pretty quickly. Obviously it does provide a nice offensive buff for his halberdier as well, whereas Lix is, if I can click on the damn thing, we can see has only gone ahead and got +1 attack for his Cavalier and his halberdier as well. But a nice bunch of hand cannons coming out of here, and this is going to push this amount of hand cannons and helbs is going to be a really nice mixture against the helbs from Slam. But Slam now bringing in some Cavalier, and he will continually be pumping out halberdier and getting out some hand cannons off his own. The siege workshop on the front was denied from Slam, or taken down pretty quick smart. But this is going to be a nice battle for Slam. If he can get a nice surround on these hand cannons, he's going to be in a good position to take the fight, take down Lix's army and start pushing back. But what he's really lacking is he's lacking siege. I mean, it's all well and good taking down the army, but if you don't start taking down the production buildings from your opponent, he's just going to be able to sit nice and safe behind his well-defended base and just start, just continually repopulate his army. So Slam, in my opinion, does need to grab some siege to be able to effectively push all this back, with iron casting leather archer armor coming in now for Lix as well, providing +2 defense and a little bit more extra attack, +2 attack in fact, for his halberdier and any Cavalier that he does decide to get out. But it doesn't look like Lix is really interested in going down the Cavalier route, seeing as though he has only got 2 stables up and he's got many more barracks and siege workshops and archery ranges up. So it looks like Lix might be wanting to stick for the hand cannons and helbs and bombard cannons and trebs sort of army composition here. And this is what I was saying at the beginning as well. The Teutons are quite a heavy civ once you start getting into the Imperial Age. I mean, you just heard me list off all the nice siege units that they do actually get, and Yeah, crenellations and fletching now coming in as well. I guess fletching to provide a little bit more of a buff, a little bit more of an offensive presence for his castles should Slam be able to push down this hill. But like I said, like I was saying before as well, this hill is a really nice strategic position for Slam to take. So long as he does manage to hold this, he's going to be in a good position to push down this hill into all of this sort of military production area for Lix, but Lix getting really ballsy, quite cheeky, chucking down a couple of siege workshops out to the eastern flank of Slam's base. And is Slam actually going to spot this? That's the big thing, because a couple of rams coming in. If he's paying attention, he might be able to see the corner of the siege workshop being constructed. But like a couple of rams coming in here into the eastern flank of Slam's economy is going to be really strong. It's going to be really strong for Lix if he can manage to pull this off. And Slam calling GG. Okay, so it looks like he doesn't even need to go ahead and get the siege workshop push from the eastern flank going, because Slam has recognised the situation and he's calling GG. It's all well and good having this hill, but if you can't really push against the army composition of your opponent, then hills aren't really going to help too much. And honestly, I think what Slam was lacking was a little bit of siege. I guess he didn't really have too many places to build. Building on a hill is quite difficult, but he might have been able to make a bit better of a bad situation. But at the end of the day, he was 30 villages behind, and he was pushing against quite a superior army composition, I guess you could say, with any helbs being able to shred through the cavalier, and the hand cannons being able to shred through any helbs and the hand cannons of his opponent. And Lix also having siege. That was the big thing in my opinion. The siege was sort of what Slam was missing from his army. But yeah, well done, well played to Lix. So Mr. Silix does indeed take the first game, and we'll switch back into the game room so that I can have a bit of a drink. And yeah, okay.